Welcome to Lesson 2 of the Kubernetes Beginners series. Today, we get our hands on kubectl. At its core, kubectl is just a thin REST client talking to the API server, and every command you type traces the same predictable path: a bearer token, an RBAC check, and a read or write against etcd. Over the next 12 slides, we'll unpack the kubeconfig anatomy, spin up 3 local clusters with different tools, and switch between them in a single keystroke, turning verbose typing into invisible muscle memory. To make that journey concrete, we'll work through 4 mental models, and they map directly to the SRE loop. First, observe the kubeconfig itself, with its 3 sections: clusters, users, and contexts, all merged from one or more YAML files. Then Bootstrap, picking the right local cluster tool, whether that's Minikube, Kind, K3s, K3d, or kubeadm, each with its own sweet spot. Third, switch, jumping between contexts and namespaces in a single second with kubectl and kubens. And finally, gate, the RBAC pipeline. authn, authz, roles, cluster roles, and service accounts. Observe, bootstrap, switch, gate. That's the spine of everything that follows. Let's start with observe, and that means cracking open the kubeconfig. It's a single YAML file with 3 top-level sections: clusters, users, and contexts, plus one tiny but critical line at the bottom: current context. Clusters answer, "Where is the AP server?" Users answer, "Who am I, and how do I prove it?" Token, client cert, OIDC, or an exec plugin. And contexts are just the glue: a named pairing of one cluster, one user, and optionally, a namespace. Once you see it as those 3 boxes plus a pointer, debugging why is kubectl hitting the wrong cluster really is a 30-second job. Now we shift from observe to bootstrap, actually getting a cluster under your fingers. There are 5 tools worth knowing, and the pro move is picking by scenario, not by habit. Minikube is your full-featured laptop sandbox with add-ons and a GUI. Kind runs Kubernetes inside Docker. Fast, scriptable, perfect for CI and multi-node tests. K3s is a single binary built for Edge and Raspberry Pi. K3d gives you K3's ergonomics with kind-like speed, and kubeadm is the real deal, the production path, where you build the control plane yourself. Let's stay with kubeadm because it's the one that actually teaches you Kubernetes. 4 commands get you a real cluster. Init bootstraps the control plane. Kubelet reads static pod manifests and brings up API server, etcd, scheduler, and controller manager, exactly the pieces from lesson 1. Then you copy admin.conf into your kubeconfig. That's your bootstrap credential. Apply a CNI so pods can talk, and finally join your workers with the token and cert hash kubeadm handed you. That's it. Every managed offering, EKS, GKE, AKS, is just automating these same 4 steps. Now, once that cluster is up, every kubectl call hits the same gate. Authn figures out who you are, then authz, usually RBAC, decides if you can do it, and RBAC really is just 4 primitives. A role lists verbs on resources inside a namespace. A role binding hands that role to a subject like a user or a service account. Cluster role and cluster role binding do the same thing cluster-wide, which you need for node, PV, or namespace itself. And service accounts? That's how a pod gets an identity to call the API server from inside. When in doubt, ask the cluster directly. Kubectl auth can I, -- as Alice. No guessing. With the gate model in your head, let's make the typing painless. 6 tools. Install them all on day 1. Alias K to kubectl. That one line saves you 30 minutes a day forever. Then kubectl and kubens for sub-second cluster and namespace switching, K9s as a live terminal dashboard, stern-to-tail logs across every replica matching a pattern, kubeps1 to put your context right in the prompt so you see prod before you wreck it, and finally, kubectl explain, offline schema docs for any field you forgot. This is the muscle memory layer. On top of those tools, 6 kubectl reflexes turn it from verbose into invisible. Reach for -o, YAML, JSON, or JSON path when the default table isn't enough. That's how you feed automation. Add -w to any get for live streaming updates. Pipe --dry run equals client into a file when you need valid YAML fast. Run kubectl diff before every apply to catch the wrong namespace moment. Use kubectl debug to attach an ephemeral container without restarting the pod. And install crew because the community already wrote the plugin you need. Here's the whole lesson on one page. 12 patterns, grouped by the 4 mental models we've been circling. Alias, Kubans, and kubectl live under switch. Kind, minikube, and kubeadm init are your bootstrap options, from fast lab to real cluster. Current context, get -o YAML, explain, and K9s cover observe. And auth CLI plus dry run are your gate checks before anything touches the API server. Screenshot it, pin it, and let the muscle memory build. Now, for the 5 traps that catch almost everyone. 1. A bare shell prompt. Install kubeps1 so you always see cluster and namespace, because a 5-minute setup prevents 5-year mistakes. 2. Stop using admin.conf as your daily driver. It's cluster admin. Treat it like a root password and create scoped RBAC users instead. 3. Kubectl run is imperative and disposable. Real work is declarative YAML in Git. 4. Skip stack. Overflow copy-paste and ask kubectl explain. It's the source of truth for your exact version. And 5. Minikube is not Prodex. Always know which distro, which version, and who's managing it. Time to put it all together with 3 exercises, all on your laptop. First, boot 3 clusters in parallel. Kind for dev, K3D for staging, minikube for prod, then run kubectl config, get contexts, and watch all 3 show up. Second, install the ergonomics, kubectl, kubans, kubeps1, maybe K9s. This is the 30-minute investment that pays back forever. Third, the gate. Create namespace team A, a pod reader role, bind Alice to it, and prove the boundary holds with kubectl auth CLI. Bootstrap, switch, gate. That's the muscle memory. And that's lesson 2 in the bag. You now own the kubeconfig anatomy, 5 bootstrap tools, a kubeadm walkthrough, and the RBAC primitives that gate every call. Observe, bootstrap, switch, gate, locked in. Next up, we zoom from the wire into the workloads themselves, pods, deployments, and services. The 3 atoms every Kubernetes app is built from. Grab some coffee, and I'll see you in lesson 3.